I've acquired some books recently, and I want to tell you what they are, and I'd love to know if you've read any of these and if you have thoughts on them. And we're going to jump right in with a very quick note that if you want to discuss books like this with my community, you should consider checking out my bindery, which is like Patreon designed specifically for readers. And as always, hitting the like button, smashing subscribe, ringing the bell, and really just hanging out with me here and watching this is very much appreciated. So back to the matter at hand. It's been a few months since I've done this, and June was my birthday month. And that's always a big book buying. Do I have a hair? Why would I have a hair? I don't have any hair on my head. June is always a big book buying month for me. And I've finally trained my family to just pick a book off of my wish list if they want to nail their gift. They're finally convinced of that. So I've been gifted a bunch. Plus, I have a stack from my community that they gifted me, and publishers are always reaching out, trying to get their book in my hands. And I think that's the order in which we're going to do this. So books that I bought, books my family bought me, books my community gifted me, and books from publishers. Starting with books that I got myself, this past Saturday, I stumbled into a Barnes & Noble by accident and pulled off the legendary feat of buying exactly one book, which is basically the same level of achievement as Free Solo Climbing El Capitan, which Alex Honnold did in 2017. And that's what this book is about. The Impossible Climb, Alex Honnold, El Capitan, and The Climbing Life by Mark Sinat. Now, I've already started reading this, so I'll have a full review at the end of the month. I think once a year, I get into like this big climbing kick, and I rewatch documentaries like Free Solo, Myru, The Dawn Wall, The Alpinist, Valley Uprising, Dirtbag, and so on and so forth. There are so many great ones. And meanwhile, like the most I've done is like some bouldering. But I'll tell you, every time I get down this rabbit hole, I always consider joining the climbing gym near me. I think those guys and gals are just an entirely different breed with insane mental and physical strength. And I respect the hell out of what they do and what they're able to overcome and accomplish. So I'm having a good time with this one. I'm about to dive further into a French history kick. And one of the community members who always has great recommendations with history books said, hey, before you read directly about the French Revolution, try this book about everything that led up to it. And that book is The Revolutionary Temper by Robert Darnton. So I'm going to trust her and go with this one very soon. So yeah, this covers Paris 1748 to 1789. So everything leading up to it looks great. One more nonfiction book in this stack. There's Puerto Rico, A National History by Joel Melendez Badillo. Pretty straightforward what this is about. Transitioning to some fiction, after you've read a couple books from an author and they both hit, why not go back to the well? So that's what I did with Greek Lessons by Hong Kong, I think is how you say that. I'm going to read this, I think this week as well. So that is another one that you're going to be hearing about shortly. Back in May, I read The Vegetarian by her, and I gave it 4.25 stars. Check out my monthly recap video for a full review. And my first Hong Kong was Human Acts, which is centered around the Gwangju uprising in South Korea, where a student protest against the authoritarian government was brutally suppressed. And I'm hoping that Greek Lessons can at least get close to the standard that Hong Kong has set with those two. One book I've seen a ton of fantastic reviews for is Glorious Exploits by Ferdia Lennon. From my understanding, this is a tragic comedy taking place in 412 BC during the Peloponnesian War. And I'm thankful everything else I've ever known about this has leaked from my brain and out of my ears, because I want to go into this pretty blind. As always, I'm trying to like temper my expectations, but I'm not going to pretend like I'm not buying into the hype on this one a little bit. Omar El-Akkad has this book titled American War, which takes place after the outbreak of a second civil war in 2074. Again, this is another one where I want to be a bit blind because the premise was enough for it to hook me in. So I'm not going to mess with that process. These are two more fiction books that I picked up that I've seen crazy hype for. Martyr by Keva Akbar and Small Worlds by Caleb Azuma Nelson. Although I'll say the comments I've got on Martyr are interesting. People either seem to absolutely adore it or they're firmly in the camp that it's overrated. We'll see which side I fall on, or if I land in the middle, which is the case a lot of the time. I did a short form video recently where I talked about heist and heist adjacent books, partly because I love a good heist and because my publishing imprint, Kissed Reads, have acquired their first book recently, which is a fantasy heist book. So more details on that soon. And again, you can support that effort by subscribing to my binary community. But sticking to the point here, people said that if you love heists, especially fantasy heists, you got to try Foundryside by Robert Jackson Bennett. So that's what we're going to do. Sticking with fantasy, I also picked up The Mask of Mirrors by M.A. Carrick, Book 1 in the Rook and Rose series. I've been eyeing it for a while, and I've asked some creators that I trust if they think that I would get on with this, and I have decided it is worth giving a go, or at least buying. We'll see if I get to it. Next up are books that were gifted to me by my family, most of them for my birthday, but also sometimes my wife just buys me stuff she thinks I would like. For instance, these books behind me, these special editions for the Farseer trilogy by Robin Hobb and the First Law trilogy by Joe Abercrombie, which I've actually got all three of the First Law ones signed by the man himself when I attended his event in Georgia back in May. I've already read and love both of these, and yeah, get you a partner that gives you special editions of your favorite books, you know? I mean, look at that. Look at that Assassin's Apprentice. Holy crap. These are gorgeous, and they got all the artwork in it and everything like that colored map. Incredible. And like, how could I pass on these? Joe Abercrombie's the man. She also got me another fantasy trilogy. This one is from John Gwynne of Blood and Bone. I've interviewed Gwynne on this channel before, and he's such a sweet and swell guy, so it's easy to root for him. I've also interviewed on his son's channel. Basically, I'm part of the Gwynne family now, so I'm stoked to get to this trilogy, especially considering that I love the Bloodsworn Saga by Gwynne. So yeah, hype for these. My wonderful wife also got me my first S.A. Barnes book, Ghost Station. What did I take it away from you there? Let me put it in front of the camera. So this is about a crew trying to survive on an ancient abandoned planet. I'm not the biggest horror reader, but I will also try anything. I think you can tell that from this channel if you've been here. I read a lot of different genres, and like usually I'll find something about a genre that I like about it. So we'll see if this one clicks for me. And my stepson gifted me Ocean's Godori by Elaine Yu Cho for my birthday. I'm going to keep it a buck here and say that I know nothing about this book. I've forgotten everything that I've heard about it, but I love this cover. I am judging this book by its cover. Actually, let's read the back here together and see what the tagline says. It says, a disgraced Korean space pilot, an interplanetary murder conspiracy, an unlikely love among the stars. Sounds cool. I'm constantly looking for more African history books, and my mother-in-law saw this on my wish list and grabbed it for me. A History of Zimbabwe. I feel like I'm going to butcher the author's name, so I'm not going to say it until I find an interview or something where I can learn it. But yeah, this is a scholarly work that promises to, quote, examine Zimbabwe's pre-colonial, colonial, and post-colonial social, economic, and political history, end quote. Our next set of books were gifted to me by members of my community, and look, I am always eternally grateful for that. Like, honestly, how cool is it to develop a bond with people that you've met through this venture, and they get a sense of what you like and don't like, and feel so strongly about certain books that they're generous enough to send them to you. It's hard to capture with words like how cool that is, and like I feel like it's somewhat unique to the overall book community, which has been like one of the most welcoming spaces that I have ever encountered. So I am so happy to be here, and I'm so happy to receive these from the community. These first two didn't even come with a note. I don't know if that was on purpose. Did I hit the mic there? I don't know if that was on purpose. Either way, if you send me this, give me a shout in the comments if you want to, or you can stay anonymous. But thank you regardless. We've got Bound to Canaan, the epic story of the Underground Railroad, America's first civil rights movement by Fergus M. Bordwick. And Don't Know Much About the Civil War, everything you need to know about America's greatest conflict, but never learned by Kenneth C. Davis. My dude Todd sent me this next stack, and Todd's been a gentle viewer for a long time. Like, I don't remember a time when he wasn't around. So yeah, appreciate you, Todd. You're an OG. I am glad you're around, dude. So we've got April 1865, The Month That Saved America by Jay Wink, which takes a look at the final days of the Civil War. And I love this title, My Thoughts Be Bloody, The Bitter Rivalry That Led to the Assassination of Abraham Lincoln by Nora Titone. And these next three Todd sent because during one of my Walking Dead Telltale streams, he asked if I had an interest in Nazi hunters, and I was like, hell yeah, let's hunt the bastards. So he said this with a note. He said, enjoy, Michael. I'm extremely interested in the hunt for Nazi war criminals, and these are the best books that I've seen. Thank you for your great YouTube videos. From Todd. Todd, I appreciate you, dude. And based on that, he sent me The Real Odessa, How Nazi War Criminals Escaped Europe. The Nazi Hunters, How a Team of Spies and Survivors Captured the World's Most Notorious Nazi. I'm going to butcher the name of this, but Mengele, the complete story. You can tell I'm a reader, not a listener. This is about Auschwitz's Angel of Death. And we have arrived at our last set of books, which was sent by publishers either on their own volition or they reached out about it. And I was like, yeah, let's give her a go. So let's crank through these puppies. Penguin Random House sent me Daughters of the Bamboo Grove, From China to America, a true story of abduction, adoption, and separated twins by Barbara Demick. Listen, as soon as I saw Barbara Demick, I was sold, because her book on North Korea, Nothing to Envy, is one of my favorite history books. So incredibly well done. And I am hoping that she is in the same form for this one, because if so, it's gonna bang. Penguin's imprint Vintage also sent me this novel, There Are Rivers in the Sky by Alif Shafak. I think I've seen more than a few people mention this in my comments, so if you have thoughts on them, please drop them for me. Shout out to Simon & Schuster, who sent me a fat stack of books. There's Band of Brothers by Stephen E. Ambrose. Then you've got Waco, David Koresh, The British Davidians, and A Legacy of Rage by Jeff Gwynne. And I've had so many people say nice things about Gwynne's writing since I showed this off in an IG story. It's also a topic that I'm fascinated, I've just been fascinated with over the years. So I'll probably get to this sooner than later. We've also got The Afghanistan Papers, A Secret History of the War by Craig Whitlock. Saga Press is an imprint of Simon & Schuster, if I'm not mistaken. Big thanks to them for sending me this collection of short stories by Ken Liu, titled The Hidden Girl and Other Stories. If you've been around, you know that I'm spent with Liu's fantasy series, The Dandelion Dynasty. I've also been digging the animated show Pantheon, which was adapted from some of the stories in this collection. Liu is supposed to be a master at short stories. So hyped to get this. A Simon & Schuster imprint, Avid Reader Press, sent me The Eagle in the Heart, The Tragedy of Richard II and Henry IV by Helen Castor. Castor did an excellent job with the Elizabeth I biography that she did. It was a real thin boy, but it was awesome. So I'm very down to give this a shot. And finally, Black Panel Press sent me this very sweet looking graphic novel, Conquest, Julius Caesar's Gallic War. Thank you, Black Panel Press. I'm gonna say it right. Black Panel Press. Thank you for sending this off to me. I just counted the stack, and that's over 30 books. And look, I've been trying to offload some books because I'm running out of space, but I swear every time I go to drop off a book I sold on Pango or donated or whatever, I just seem to come back with even more books no matter what I do. And hey, I'm not complaining. I can always get more hanging shelves to accommodate for them. But yeah, that's going to do it for today. I appreciate y'all hanging out, and I'll see you on the next one.